round of applause. Round of applause to ZZZ. Because I'm not going to sit here and lie. There's been times where I've been bored of ZZZ. There's been times where I could not care what happens at some points in times. But when they cook, they absolutely cook. Credit when credit is due. I will give them this. They are probably some of the best storytellers, or at least in terms of story presentation too as well, in Hoyoverse that we basically pretty much have. I'm not saying that their story is the best, but I am saying that they are best in showing how the story can be done or how it's shown and things of the sort like that. Because easily the whole thing with Orphe and Magus and Isolde, not necessarily gonna lie, it got me. Because I'm not gonna say and lie, when I first saw the dang update come out and they was saying that this is gonna be the update that we're gonna basically get, I was not interested. I could not care for gun lady and weird elf looking chick. I could not care. I didn't really care too much for what was going on. I was like, what does this have to do with the main plot? This feels like a side story, or at least before jumping into the story, that's what basically I was feeling. I just didn't care. The only character I was really caring for, which was basically Seed, because Seed was obviously like one of those characters that seems weird, seems like they know more than they should, or, you know, having something weird going on about them, and that's basically it, right? That was literally the only character I cared for, and just wanted to go get that character, which I do have Seed now, so I get to see all them ass cheat jiggles for days for free, but that's just how it is. However though, as I went out my way to play the quest and really get into it, it just really shows me that, damn, this is what I want Genshin to do. When it comes down to Genshin storytelling, it's not necessarily the best thing in the world. I still love its story. I still think Genshin story is the best one in Hoyo, but I would argue that the storytelling is not necessarily that good. And if you ask me what would I look for in Genshin storytelling, it's ZZZ. Literally, the way ZZZ carry themselves is pretty much the best that Hoyoverse has to offer, and it's really damn good. And I really honestly am now at a point where I'm pissed off at Genshin because the storytelling, or at least the presentation, isn't nowhere near as good as ZZZ is. Like, yeah, ZZZ obviously have people just standing around and, kind of just doing different poses in the three-way splits of the conversation, and that's all they really got. But at the same time, they do expand upon that. Like, you do get more than one animation that kind of happens per a quest, right? You do get to at least see people having cool little animation movements when it comes down to it, right? You do get to see, I would say, different personalities that don't necessarily feel completely like the same sort of character, because obviously Genshin has the trope of everybody kind of being like a self-righteous character and stuff like that, which can be very annoying. I said that before in the past. But then ZZZ, obviously you have like a lot of people that are more gray than they are righteous, do a lot of good things, but on a more different sort of tone and sort of path. And they even go as far as to challenge the idea that, hey, you do this shady thing in the dark, or you move in the shadows, that's not really hero-like, and call that shit out. Or basically being like, alright, you do all the good hero stuff, but is what you doing the best optimal way of helping out everybody? And that's a good, honestly, really good trope that a lot of games need to have, especially Genshin, and they just don't. The only characters that is gray in Genshin for real is like a Skirk and an Arlecchino, and that's basically it. Anybody else is either straight up evil or they're straight up a good guy, which basically is essentially all we got. And yes, you do have NPCs that exist in the game that can be various amounts of different personalities, but no one really cares about those. We remain looking at the main contenders that obviously is going to be around for a good chunk of time. To be real, and this might be a hot ass take, but honestly, if it wasn't for the fact that Zenless wasn't more like a stage-based game, basically kind of like going to a combat stage, an exploration stage, or like a walk around the city sort of stage or whatever, if it wasn't for the fact that it was the game, it, I guess, like kind of built around itself to be, I feel like, honestly, it would be probably the best gacha game to kind of stand toe to toe with Wuwa. if I'm gonna be real, because all I ever hear is Wuwa glaze, and they deserve a bit of that glaze as well. But if we're gonna compare any game that could really maybe challenge slightly even to what Wuthering has, I would say Zenless kind of could, especially again with this type of things that they pull. They do honestly be on the same type of timing that Wuthering kind of is, right? They do a lot of different mini games. They do a lot of different, events and stuff like that. They have like a fair amount of characters that you can actually care for. They're like, again, the character personalities in ZZZ is easily the best, strongest part about, the game itself. But when it comes down to it though, the combat's really damn good. The set pieces of how they starting to really get into the bag of the different settings and what these enemy characters can do. Because by far, and I'm not gonna sit here and lie, anything with the ending parts of this quest that we had to deal with was easily some of the best shit I've seen in a good minute. It was absolutely cinema when it comes down to it. And granted, they have done cool shit before, like when Miyabi split the dang Hollow in half, or at least that one part of Hollow in half, trying to stop Bringer. That was really cool, and everybody getting to come through and basically, assimilating like the urban Avengers, and that was nice. But I feel like that outbeats this, right? That doesn't necessarily beat what happened with Orpheus quest. And again, there's other stuff too, like, obviously Caesar almost sacrificing themselves to kind of save the Outer Ring, which was still one of the really dope ass moments that really got me into the game hard as hell. But when it comes down to it though, there was so much shit. And I think also the fact that I like this game too, in its aspects of what I appreciate it more than Genshin, is basically its tone, right? I think the tone does a lot. And this is the thing that kind of throws me off a little bit. Genshin is teen for teen. ZZZ is also teen for teen. They have two different tones, and they just don't necessarily, on Genshin side, cash in on it in ways I would like to see get cashed in on. Whereas ZZZ, they know what they are, they know exactly what they want to do, they know how to appeal to whatever audience they want to go for, and that's just how it is. So many people just quit the game because of people, being like, oh, the characters are too much goonerish going on. I don't really like all that. The combat stages are not necessarily the best thing ever. And I agree, the combat stages ain't not necessarily the funnest thing on the planet to deal with, going in and out of combat with the loading screens and all that sort of stuff. It does indeed suck. However, if really the main first one, if that's the big reason as to why you quit the game, that is a shame, because you're leaving a pretty good story behind, much less really what feels like a set of devs that actually genuinely give a damn about what they're working on and wanting to make the product and game just better as they kind of can go along. It feels like a good time over here, and that's just how it is. And it's really helpful because of the tone of how they kind of go about the game. There's a lot of weird, funny moments where characters just start cursing out of nowhere, and they just sometimes be censoring themselves with different bleeps and all that sort of stuff. There is basically characters getting shot, apparently in ZZZ, with Isolde blicking whoever the hell that was that screwed her old team like 11 years ago. You got basically characters getting stabbed, or if he got shot in the head. Like, it was crazy. I was like, excuse me, this is a Hoyoverse game? When do y'all ever go this hard? That's how it felt for me. It was amazingly cool. It was amazingly cool in all the right reasons, honestly. And the fact that they left it off with a cliffhanger with homeboy from Yunque Summit basically seeming like he's gonna pull an Aizen, it's starting to get to a good time. It's getting to a good time, and I am absolutely here for it. I'm not gonna sit here and lie. If he actually is like an enemy character and he was there from the beginning and we don't get to play as that character, and because of he might turn into an asshole or something like that and he dies or whatever, that would be the coolest thing, because it's like, oh, you think this character from Yunque Summit is a character that you're gonna get to play as, but that's not really the case, and that would be kind of cool. I'm not gonna sit here and lie, baiting people to think, oh, this character will be playable, and ultimately they aren't. They just have a really unique model. But yeah, ZZZ just has a good tone to it. Again, they just know what they are. They know what people want to see. Whether it's the nice jiggle physics of Seed's ass, because of course it is. Whether it is basically more of a serious, darker tone and how things kind of happen and actually showing you that it happened. And I think that's also another issue that Genshin just doesn't necessarily know how to deal with, is that they hardly ever show you exactly what is the bad thing that's going on, right? Like the Sun Children. I'm not saying we need to see, you know, the Sun Children get absolutely murdered in Inkonomiya and do that as a cutscene, but it would be nice if we got to see, you know, maybe moments that led up to it or something like that, and maybe something of the sort that kind of just implies that it's there in visual format, because we don't really get that. To this day, still, the quest that still lingers in my head with ZZZ and showing actually what's going on before this whole like quest that came out is still the whole thing with Twiggy. Twiggy and Ambi's story, or at least, you know, Silver Squad Ambi's story, when it came down to that, when you see Twiggy just in the damn bed, just straight up having her limbs cut off and just being like harvested, and then just all that whole thing about organ harvesting and stuff like that, it's crazy. And it made me realize too that, oh shit, China actually has a bad problem with organ harvesting. It's terrible, and the fact that they've referenced it into the game is crazy. So when it comes down to it, it's just a really just good. It's just really damn good. It could also be the fact that it's an urban setting, so obviously it's more grounded in our reality, so maybe that is a reason why I can appreciate the tone a bit more. But at the very same time, what's stopping Genshin from going down this sort of path as well? It's like, I said this before too with the damn rewards, like damn, we get just 10 good rewards, like 10 shots for a wish every patch. Why don't Genshin do that every damn patch? But, you know, they need to like take some lessons from their own teammates, their own co-workers and stuff. I get it that obviously devs in the same studio do not necessarily work with other devs on different games and different teams and stuff like that, or they don't really pay too much attention to what they're working on. They need to focus on their game and they want to keep their vision, you know, separate, and I absolutely understand that. But there is nothing wrong with taking some advice or some lessons from other devs that's obviously doing something correct and good, and Genshin desperately needs that. They should definitely be talking to the ZZZ team, since they already get like talk to them, I guess, in some shape and form, with like how we got that artwork at the, you know, that the vacation isle with in Natlan, and I assume they had gotten some of the artists from ZZZ to come make that for that little stage of the DJ stage or whatever. So I would assume they have that. They have some people they can talk to. So why not just talk about storytelling and things of sort like that, right? Talk to them about how to improve the game to provide better stuff for, you know, the people that actually do care. Provide it for those sort of people. That's what they really need to just absolutely do. What they should absolutely do. Because the more I see ZZZ improve and the more they kind of go about the ways that they go about things and things like that, it makes me wish that Genshin did have a lot of the ZZZ isms that, you know, they currently have. Because right now, yes, Nocry is coming through very soon and we're going to see how that's going to be. Still, I don't think, you know, it's going to be absolutely everything that we're looking for. It might have a lot of stuff that we are happy to see that might get changed around every now and again, but it's not going to nail down what we actually want to see a lot that Genshin could and absolutely do. And that's just ultimately how it is. But yeah, I think the main thing that Genshin is just missing is just its vibe, its tone. It's something that they desperately need to fix, because obviously ZZZ, their cast of characters, their tone, they are different. Each character feels different. Even if they're on the good guy's side, they still all feel different in the ways they go about certain things. And Genshin, they kind of feel samey. They feel basically like, oh, it's easy to understand and stuff like that. They should also realize that their audience is full of people that is older as well as younger players as well, and realize that yes, you know, we need to actually make things good for each player base. I ain't saying the whole Genshin game needs to be full of mature content or things like that, but just wisen up enough to be like, all right, you've been sticking around with us for like a good 5 years. Let's start actually, shifting up how things actually needs to be. Because the way Genshin is going personally is just, it's, again, story wise, I'm here. Character wise, I am here for designs and stuff. But in terms of how the story is being told, how the characters are being represented, there's a lot of work that very much needs to be fixed. And they had some of that sauce in, Fontaine. There was some sauce in that land with like characters like Asit, Lolly, and Malika, but not really a lot of that really exists for a lot of other characters. And it's a bit of a shame. Again, Genshin is the biggest moneymaker for Hoyoverse, and it's crazy how they put the most littlest effort into the game at all. And then they just do a lot of other decisions that people do not really care for. It's weird. Again, it's very much weird. Very much so. But I just really want to talk about that. Because again, what happened with, Zenless, playing that whole quest was just amazing. It was very damn good. The fact that you also had like a quick time event fighting Isolde, it was just dope. It was just a good time. Music and everything. It was just amazing. And it just made me hyped up to see what Seed's story is going to be like later. And then also it makes me hyped up to see what's going to happen for the next update. So that's just how it is. But ultimately though, that's essentially all I gotta say for this one. So hopefully you did enjoy. If you did, be sure to like, share, subscribe. Hit the bell notification on your way out. Also follow me on socials. And if you'd like to donate to the channel, Kofi and Cash App is available as well. Hype this video up as well. Until then, it's Boy J, signing off. Have a blessed day.